Welcome to the Math Record. Today we'll be covering the CCML Algebra 2 Contest 1 2015-2016 Division A. Okay, number 1. Solve for m. 3m plus 5 is equal to 2 parentheses m minus 4. So you got 3m plus 5. Distribute in the 2, so 2m minus 8. So m is equal to negative 13. Basically, that's just that simple. Simple linear question. Number 2, compute the slope of the rays through points 2, 5, and 4, 10. So the slope is just changing y or changing x. So 10 minus 5 all over 4 minus 2. So the answer is just 5 or 2. Or you can just write in decimal, which is 2.5. Okay. Number 3, write the order pair that solves x plus 2y is equal to 3 and negative 2x minus y is equal to 0. So x plus 2y equal to 3. And negative 2x minus y is equal to 0. Okay, multiply the first equation by 2, so you get 2x plus 4y to equal to 3. So then when you add them together, negative 2x and 2x cancels out, and you get 3y is equal to... Oops, sorry, I forgot to multiply the 3 by 2. That makes 6. And then you get 3y is equal to 6, so y is equal to 2. Plug in y and 2 into y is equal to 2 on the first equation, so you get x plus 4 is equal to 3, and x is equal to negative 1. So the answer is just negative 1, 2. Basically that simple. Just a simple system of equations question. Question 4. Determine the largest or smallest solution, whichever is appropriate to 2x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 4x. So minus 2x from both sides, so you get 6 greater than or equal to 2x. So divide by 2 is 3 is less than or equal to x. 3 is greater than or equal to x. So x has to be like negative 1, negative 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. It just can't be like 4, because x is like 4, right? Then it's not going to be true. So the highest possible number is 3. So that's the answer, 3. Question 5. What's the degree measure of the angle made by lines with slopes negative 8 and 0.125? Okay, your slope is negative 8 and 0.125. So usually when they ask these type of questions, the angle made by these slopes is probably going to be perpendicular, so it's going to be 90 degrees, because the perpendicular slope of negative 8 is opposite and reciprocal, so it's just opposite of 8 is 8, and reciprocal of 8 is just 1/8, and 1/8 is equal to 0.125. So that's true, so our angle is 90 degrees. But sometimes, if you're running a time, it's good to assume that it's just 90 degrees. Because another way to do it would be if you just have a slope, right? Like this kind of slope, and then you have another slope, like right below it. What you have to do is that you have to find this angle, like right here. We'll call it x. So what you do is that you kind of you try to like just make a line, say x is equal to like some kind of number, and then you make this triangle. So you find that length, that point, and then you kind of find this. Sorry, we'll call this this side length. Well, this is x is equal to a, right? So this side length is a. This is x is equal to a, right? This at this point, and let's call this height b, and then this height is b, and this entire height over here, right? From here to here is c, right? So that's c. Then basically what you do is that you kind of use like trig. So you find like tangent of some kind of angle. Let's call it like, I don't know, z is equal to c over a, and then tangent of like y is equal to b over a, and then you find z minus x to get z minus y is equal to x. You know, because this would be y, and x plus y is equal to z. So that's basically how you do it also. But, you know, if it's already perpendicular, just assume. If you already think it's perpendicular, just do like the method for it, which is opposite and reciprocal. So the answer is 9 degrees. 6. If n is a natural number, what is the sum of all possible values for the greatest common divisors of n and n plus 3? So greatest common divisor n and n plus 3. Technically, there's only going to be 2 answers. Whenever they give you something like this is n and n plus 3, the greatest common divisor, the always greatest common divisor for any single number is always possible is 1. Just think about it. It's just 2 and 3. Like, say 2 and 3 is 1. 2 and 4, also 1. You know, there's always going to be 1. At least 1 as, like, one of the divisors. So 1 is a divisor possible. It's just, if they're both, like, basically prime. So if you put, like, 1 and 4, right? Then, yeah, it's 1. If it's 2 and 5, yeah, it's also 1. If you have, like, you put 3 and 6, oh, now the greatest common divisor is 3. So the only possible ones are 1 and 3, because there's going to be 3 greater in it. So if you, like, approach infinity, it kind of doesn't have any, like, common divisors. So 1 and 3 is just basically the only ones. So 1 plus 3 is 4. So that's the answer. So even if you do something like n and n plus 4, it's basically just 1 and 4. So it's 5. You know? It's basically that simple. It's just some kind of pattern that you find out. You start testing a bunch of points, but that's the answer. That's 4. Number 7, solve for k. 20 over k over 10 k plus 1. So we multiply to each other, so vice versa. So 20k plus 20 is equal to 10k. So minus k from both sides. I mean 10k from... Actually, minus 20k from both sides, so you get 20 is equal to negative 10k. So k is equal to negative 2. The answer of 7 is negative 2. Just make sure that this answer isn't like... Imagine like this answer was like negative 1. Then this is not going to be an answer, because negative 1, k plus 1 is 0. And it can't be undefined. So make sure that it's a possible answer. But since it's negative 2, it works. Number 8. Suppose that the system's 3x minus 5, 3x minus 5y is equal to 2, and 8x minus 10y equals 3 has a solution for x and y. What value of a is impossible? A is impossible if both of the slope, if the slope is exactly the same, but yeah, but like basically like the number on the right is different. So we have 3x minus 5y is equal to 2. You want to get the negative 5 to negative 10. So what you do is you multiply by 2, so you get 6x minus 10y is equal to 4. And you get 8x minus 10y is equal to 3. Then if you put a is equal to 6, right? Then technically no amount of value that you put in will equal to 4 or 3. Because it equals to only one of them. You can't have like an answer that's 4 and 3. So a is equal to 6 is the answer. So a is impossible. So 6. 6 is the answer for number 8. Okay, number 9. What's the value of n such that the lines through 2n 5 and 5n is parallel to a line given by 2x minus y is equal to 1? So if it's parallel to it, that means it has the same slope. So basically, just get y to the other side. So that basically tells us that 2x minus 1 is equal to y, so the slope is just 2. So what we just need to focus is the slope is 2. Okay, so n minus 5, changing y, and changing x is 5 minus 2n is equal to 2. So we get n minus 5 is equal to 10 minus 4n. Add 4n to both sides, so you get 5n is equal to 15, and n is equal to 3. So the answer is just 3. Okay. Question 10. In the equation 1 plus 1 equals to 2, two different capital letters represent distinct decimal digits, with 0 being non-zero. What's the smallest possible value of t? Okay, so we have 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, so it's like this. So usually I just write it from up to down, not left to right. So 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So, what these numbers kind of like technically tell me is that 0 has to be less than 5. I mean, not 0, O, it has to be less than 5. Because if O is 5, right, and this is 5, then it's gonna make a 4 digit, but it's still a 3 digit. So technically, it's gonna be like 4 or less. And E plus E has to equal like O, you know? So imagine like how this works. So O could be either 1, 2, 3, or 4, right? So if O is 1, then that adds up to 2. So E has to add up to like 2 right here somehow. So it's either gonna use a 6 or it's either gonna also use a 1. But it's not gonna use a 1 because each number is distinct as it's set right here. So it's gonna be 6. So if O is 1, then E has to be 6. If O is 2, that makes 4, right? The only way to add up a 4 is 7, basically. So, and if, you can't use, like, basically, 2 and 2, as I said before, so 3, 6, the only way to get to 6 is, 8, and this one gets to 8, so, you know, this one has to somehow get to 8 also, so that has to be, like, 9. So 6, 7, 8, or 9, right? So if this since these add up to like 12, right? 6 plus 6 is 12. So that's 2. Um sorry. Oops. No, that makes 2. Yeah. So wait. Sorry. No, I got it wrong. Sorry about that. O 0 O has to be even and has to be less than uh freaking what was it 5? Yeah. Because as I said before, it can't be 5 because then it'll be a 4 digit, and it has to be even because a number of this, if twice the number of this, add them together. So let's say this is 1, right, and this 1, then it's 2. If it's 2, it's 2 is 4. If it's 3 and 3, that's 6, right? It's always gonna be even. So technically, O has to be even. So the only numbers even and less than 5, it's gonna be 2 and 4. So those are the only possible values for O. So write that. So we have O is equal to 2 or is equal to 4. So we have E. So the only way to get 2 that's different numbers is 6, and the only way to get to 4, which is using 7. So that makes 14. So E, so that's N. So if that's 6 or 12, it's gonna make 12 or 14. So there's always gonna be 1 added to the next one. So N plus 1 has to equal W, basically. And O plus O is equal to the next number, which is like uh it's either like 4 if you use 2, or it's gonna become 5 because you add 1 to the new one. So N plus N to TWO. W could, I guess, be any number, but N plus N has to be like kind of the same. So let's say N plus N is 3, right? Then if it's 3, that's 6 and 7, so W is 7. If can't be 1, it could be 1. If it's 1, then it's W is 3. So let's just put all the possibilities down. So if it's 1, sorry, this looks kind of bad. Let me give this enough room. N, and then we have T, right? And I mean W. So if N is 1, because it can't be any of these other 2 or 6. So if N is 1, right? Then basically it's 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 3. So W is 3, and T is equal to 4. So I'm guessing that would be the smallest possible value for answer 10, because 2 is the smallest. I mean, not the smallest, but you have 6, and then that's it's a possible way, and then you put 1 and 1. Because if you have any number higher than 2 for O, then it's just gonna become higher, right? So it's gonna be like 4 plus 4, that makes 8. So that's already higher than 4. Like there's no point. So 4 has to be the lowest possible. If N Because 2 6 is the lowest 2 6, if this is 2, which is the lowest possible, and then E has to be 6, and that makes a 1 here, and then lowest possible for N is 1. So that makes 3. So you don't have to add another one there to get 5. So the smallest possible value for T is 4. Okay? You don't have to solve the others or 1. You could have, but you don't have to. Okay, so answer 10 is 4. 11. When 16 factorial is written in base 12, how many zeros occur to the left of the decimal point before the first non-zero digit? There's a really cool property for this. So if it's written in base, if he has something factorial and it's written to like whatever base, right? So something factorial and something written some base. Basically, you just need to count the amount of numbers are there. So we're written in base 12, right? So that's basically 2 to 2 times 3. So you need to count the amount of 2's and you need to count the amount of 3's. So the amount of 2's in 16 factorial, there's 2, 4, 8, 6, I mean, 2, 4, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, right? So that basically are all the 2's. So there's 1, 2 here, there's 2 2's here, there's 1, 2 here, there's 3 2's here, there's 1, 2 here, there's 2 2's here, there's 1 2's here, and there's 4 2's here. So you have 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 4. So that's 3, that's 4, that's 7, that's 8, that's 10, that's 11, that's 15. So we have 15 2's, right? So we have 15 of these. So far we know there's 15 of them. And now we just need to count the number of 3's, basically. So 16 is 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. So you have 1 here, 2 here, 1 here, and 1 here. So basically, you have 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, and 6. So you have 6 3's. So you need 2 2's and 3's. For how many numbers can we make out of this? So technically, this is 2 to 15 times 3 to 6. So you can make 6 of them, because then that goes up to 2 to 12 times 3 to the 6, because you have 6 of these, so you raise to the power 6. So just 2 to 12 and 3 to 6. And we have enough only to that, because you can't have like 3 to the 2 to 2 times 7 raised to a power 7, you know? Because you don't have enough 3's. But you do have enough 2's for 6. So the answer is basically just 6. So that's how you find the amount of terminal zeros. That was number 11. Those are called terminal zeros, just in case you want to know. Number 12. A polygon has the following vertices in cyclic order: 0, 0, 3, 0, 3, 5, 2, 1, and 0, 4. Compute the polygon's area. If you watched the previous video, I introduced something called the Shoelace Theorem to find the area using matrices for a plane, basically. So I'm going to do the exact same way. So step 1, make a picture. So we have 0, 0, so somewhere here. And then 3, 0, so somewhere here, probably. Right? And then 3, 5, so somewhere up here. And then 2, 1, so somewhere right here, probably. And then 0, 4, so somewhere right here. So you kind of have this kind of like shape. You could just use like a rectangle and connect it and subtract some triangles out. But what I would do is I would just like write it in basically in order. So I use the point right here because it's the rightmost and it's at the top. So it's gonna be 3, 5, so we have 3, 5. And then I write the point right next to it, going counterclockwise, which is 2, 1. Then I have 0, 4. Then I have 0, 0. And then I have 3, 0. And then I write the first point again, which is 3, 5. Okay, so we don't need the picture anymore. We have the points, so you kind of just like write a matrix. So what you do now is that every single like 2 coordinates, you basically just write a matrix. So it's a 2 by 2 matrix. So it's 3 times 1 is 3, minus 10, that's 8, minus 0, that's 0, minus 0, that's 0, minus 0, and that's 15 minus 0. So we don't need to calculate any of these because those are just zeros. and we have 3 and 8. That's 11. Minus 10 is 1. So so we have 1 positive. So 15 plus 1 is 16. Whatever the remainder times half and times 1/2, and you get the 8. And 8 is the answer. So the area is 8. So that's the shoelace theorem. It's pretty cool because it kind of looks like a shoelace if you write out the coordinates. Okay. Number 13. At all times, a square has a vertex at an origin. One has at all times a square has one vertex at the origin, one vertex on each axis, and one vertex in the first quadrant. If the side length of the square is increasing at a speed of 10 meters per second, how quickly is the midpoint of the diagonal moving away from the origin? So it says one vertex at the origin, one at like each axis. So you have a circle like this. It's increasing like this. So if the side length of the square is increasing at 10 meters per second, uh, how quickly is the midpoint moving away? So it's like this. So basically, just use some of your geometry. So if this is 10 and this is 10, just going 10 meters per second, then the hypotenuse, right, is just square root 2 of the side length. So the hypotenuse is 10 square root 2. And the midpoint is just halfway through that, so you just multiply by 1/2, so you get 5 square root 2. So the speed that's moving for the midpoint is just 5 square root 2. Basically, just that simple. Okay. Question 14. How many natural numbers from 1 to 100 inclusive, so includes 1 and 100, have an odd number of positive integer factors? So you kind of had to think about this. It only has a odd amount of positive integer factors if it's basically squared. So think about it this way. So let's say we have 2, right? This is not squared, and the possible factors are 1 and 2. So this is even, right? But you have something like 4, right? That's 1, 2, and 4, right? So that's odd. And you have something like 9, which is also squared. So it's 1, 3, and 9, which is also odd. You see how that works? Because basically, what's happening is that let's say you have like something square, like let's say I don't know, like 16, right? You have 1 times 16, 2 times 8, and then 4 times 4. And this thing is recorded twice, so you just don't count that again. So it's always gonna be a pair. So this is 2 even, and then you add that 1 remaining and it makes it odd. And that's why it has odd factors. So you just have to count all the numbers that are like basically squared. So up to 100, you basically have 1. 1 is 1 squared, 2, which is 4, 3 is 9, 4 is 16, 5 is 25, 6 is 36, 7 is 49, 8 is 64, and 9 is 81, and 10 is 100. So basically, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 of them. So there's basically how many natural numbers from 1 to 100 have odd numbers of positive factors. It's just 10. So this is basically something you should just know, or you could just think about it. You could just start testing points. Like I recommend just start testing like the first 5 to 10 points and see if them work. So whatever is odd and you see kind of like a pattern. I wouldn't recommend to do all 100. It's gonna take too much time, and it's just a waste. A line has slope m over n and contains the point n m and 0 b. Given that n is a non-zero, compute b. So you have a slope mn and 0 b. So b minus m all over b minus m over 0 minus n, and you get b minus m over negative m. N is equal to the slope, which is m over n. So just multiply this by -1, so it's negative m over negative n, right? So b minus m is equal to negative m. You add m to both sides, so b is equal to 0. So 15 is just 0. So just a little manipulation with variables. Question 16. A 200 milliliters mixture of iced tea and lemonade is currently 40% iced tea and 60% lemonade. How many milliliters of 60% iced tea, 40% lemonade uh, should be added so that the resultant mixture is half iced tea and half lemonade? So you either want to focus on iced tea or you want to focus on lemonade. Because let's just say we want to focus on iced tea, right? So 40%, we need to find out how many like millimeters of the iced tea and lemonade mixture is already iced tea. So 40% of 200 is iced tea. So 40% of 200. So 0.4 times 200 out of the 200 mixture, right? So that makes sense. So that's iced tea. And how many how many of milliliters of 60% iced tea plus and 40% lemonade should be added? So let's say you add X amount, right? And of that X amount, 60% is iced tea. You add 0.6x times X, right? So that's the total amount of iced tea over the total amount. And that should equal half. Equals 1/2, okay? Because that's an even amount. So basically, let's try to like multiply this out. So basically, that's 80, I think. So that's 40. Yeah, that's 2 out of 5, and that makes 5. That's 40. That's 80. Yeah. So you have 80 times 2, which is 160. So 160 plus 1.2x is equal to 200 plus x. So subtract x, so you get 0.2x. Subtract 160, so you get 40. So 0.2 is 0.2 is just 1 over 5. So multiply by 5 from both sides, so you get 200. So the answer is just 200, basically. Just that simple. Just understand how to like manipulate your variables. Uh, Question 17. A particle travels along the perimeter of a equilateral triangle, averaging speeds of 2 meters per second, 4 meters per second, and 8 meters per second on each respective leg. Assume that the particle does not stop in between legs. What is the average round trip around the triangle? So let's just kind of like draw a picture. So let's say our side length for equilateral, since the equilateral, all 3 side lengths are the same. So let's say it's x, x, and x. And this one's going at 2, and this one's going at 4, and this one's going at 8. So so we gotta look for the time for each side over the and the distance over that. So it's the speed is the average speed is just distance over time. So the distance is 3x because you have to go x here for the first side length, then the x on the second, and the x on the third. So you have 3x as your distance all over the time. So the first time is just x divided by 2. The second is x plus x divided by 4. And the third is x over 8. So the total time is just x over 2 plus x over 4 plus x over 8. So you kind of like want to add x over 2 plus x over 4 plus x over 8. And you get sorry. Let me use a calculator. Trying to do this in my head and it didn't work. Plus 1 divided by 4 plus 1 divided by 8. And you get 7/8. So you get 3x all over 7/8 x. So the x kind of cancel it out. So 3 divided by 7/8. And you get 24 over 7. So that's basically your answer, 24 over 7. Or you could just like write that as like a decimal or like mixed number. Doesn't matter either way. So decimal will be like 3.42857 repeating, basically. Or as a mixed number, it will be like 3, 7, that's 21. So you have a 3, 3, and 3/7. Basically that simple. Total distance over total time. Okay. Question 18. Suppose that AB is on the line given by 2x plus 5y is equal to 7, and A and B are integers. What's the maximum value of the product AB? So you have let's just put this in terms of y. So you get 5y is equal to negative 2x plus 7, right? And then you divide by 5 from both sides. So you get negative 2 over 5x plus plus 7 over 5. So what's the maximum value of product AB? So x times y, so this is y, so x times y. You just multiply x to substitute the y from here back in. So the product is just negative 2 over 5 x squared plus 7 over 5 x. And A and B are both positive integers. So what is the maximum value of the product AB such that they're both integers? So you already have a quadratic, but this is concave down, right? So there's gonna be a maximum. So it's gonna look something like this, right? So just look for that maximum. So the maximum is negative b over 2a. So negative 7 over 5 over negative b. So negative 7 over 5 over 2a. So 2 times negative 2.5. Negative 2.5 is just negative 4 over 5. So you get 7 over 4 as your x. Since they have to be integers, right? And 7 over 4 is about is 1.75. The closest number that you should find the closest integer, which is 2. So you just plug in x is equal to 2. So when x is equal to 2, you get x is equal to 2. You get y is equal to 7 minus 4 divided by 5, which is a mixed number. So that kind of doesn't work. So you can't put 2. Let's try 1. If you put x is equal to 1, right? Because 2 is not going to work. So the next closest number is 1. So if it's 1, then when x is 1, then y is equal to 1 also. So the maximum value of the answer is just 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. So you can't use this the entire time, because if you put like x equals 2 here, you're gonna get a like a decimal, because if two integers multiplied together is equal to an integer basically. So if you don't get an integer, just try to like put in points close to it. So x is equal to 2 doesn't work, so you put x is equal to 3, x is equal to 4, and then you go backwards to x equals to 1, x equals to 0, and start testing points when it's integer, and then you get the answer. It's more about trial and error actually for this kind of question. Okay, so that's question 18, which answer is 1. 19. How many sets of 2 or more consecutive positive integers have a sum of 18? So, how many sets of 2 or more consecutive integers has a sum of 18? So, if it has 2 consecutive integers, that's sum of 18. So, that's x plus 1. This has to be consecutive. Wait. Has a sum of 100. Right? This is 2x plus 1, which is not possible because this is always even. So even plus odd is odd, and 100 is even, so that doesn't work. So the next number is basically x plus 1 plus x plus 2 equals 100. So that's 3x plus 3 is equal to 100. So that makes 97 divided by 3, which doesn't work. So you're gonna see like a really clear pattern. So let's say if it's 2 consecutive integers, right? It's basically 2x plus 1. If it's 3 consecutive integers, it's gonna be 3x plus 3, and it's 4 consecutive integers, right? And then it's 6 plus 6. You see how it's kind of like this looks like it's building up quadratically, and this one's just linear. Well, you basically just kind of had to like follow this kind of pattern. So let's say you have n consecutive integers, right? Then you just had to make an equation based on that. So let's say your n is like we have n. Sorry, delete. we have n, x, right? So when it was 1, it was, the b value was 0. If it was 2, it was 1. When it was 3, it was 3, I think. Yes. And when it was 4, it was 6. So what's kind of telling me is that it's 1/2 n squared minus 1/2 n, I think. So that's 4, that's 2, minus 1, yep. That's 9, that's 3, 6, 3, 4, that's 16, minus 4, which is 12. Yep, so plus 1/2 n squared minus 1/2 n is equal to 100. And x and n has to be basically integers. That's what they're telling me. So that's our general equation. Okay. Why is this working? Delete. Okay. Me actually. Finally. Okay. So if we move the b to the other side, so we got nx is equal to 100. 100 minus 1/2 n squared minus 1/2 n, I mean plus 1/2 n. And then you divide by n. So x is, which is an integer, is equal to 100 divided by n minus 1/2 n plus 1/2. So based on this, what it tells me is that n, if n is even, right, then this is gonna become like an integer. But there's that 1/2 that I had to deal with. So n has to be odd. That's what it tells me. N has to be odd. So what it is basically we gotta look for the factors of 100, and we gotta find all the odd factors basically. So we just had to look for, so 100 factored is basically, oops. Okay. So based on that general form, we need a factor of 100. So 100, all the factors is, let's say 1 and 100, 250, 425, 520, 6 doesn't work, 7 doesn't work, 8 doesn't work, 9 doesn't work, and 10. So is that the total amount of factors? Yep, so that's the total amount of factors. So the odd factors is basically just 1 and 5. But it could, but how many, and is there anything else? And there's 25. 25 is also odd. Even. So basically there's only, since it has to be one or more two or more consecutive integers, you can't have one. So the only possibles are 5 and 25. So there's only 2 answers. Pretty interesting question. But it takes like some logical reasoning, I guess. Question 20. A circle of radius 1 rolls around inside a triangle with side lengths 6, 8, 10, always remaining tangent to at least one side. If P is a circle on a triangle, through what distance does P travel when the circle makes a complete trip around the triangle? Okay, let's make a picture. So we have something like this, and this 6, 8, and 10 is the right triangle. Let's have like a circle like right here, right? So basically, it's gonna have, a P is not gonna go through the entire length. So basically, it's gonna miss these lengths because it's gonna be stuck here, you know. So there's gonna be, so if it's circle here, it's gonna be stuck. Circle here is gonna be stuck. So based on that, since we just draw the general outline of how it works without the circle. So it has to be like a right triangle here. Right. Sorry about that. Okay, so you have a right triangle here, and then perpendicular right triangle here, and right triangle here, right? And these are all side length 1 because it's radius 1, and that's 1 and 1. So we just need to look for this side length because they're the same, and these side lengths. So we just need to find the angle for this. So what's the angle of this? We'll just do inverse tan, right? Inverse tan of 8/6 using your calculator, since it's contest 1, you're allowed to. And based on that angle, right, you already that gets this angle, but you want to put that in half because you want to find the side length. So half that angle using a calculator. Don't round, just don't round. And then basically the tangent of that angle, which is half of that of the original angle, is equal to 1/x. So you just have 1 divided by tangent of that tangent of half of that angle, which is just 2. So x is 2. That's what it tells us. So this is 2, and this is also 2. This is the exact same triangle if you split them. Now, if you split a triangle here, you do the exact same process. So inverse tan of 6 divided by 8, you get this angle, and then divide by 2, you get the half angle, that angle that's half of it, and then the tangent of that angle is just 1/y. So just have 1 divided by that angle, by the tangent of that angle, and you get about 3. So this is 3. So your calculator will give you precise answers, which would be 3 and 2. So based on that, since this is 2 and this is 3, then this entire side length right here has to be 5. And if this is 6 and this is 2 and 1, this has to be 3. And this is 8, that's 3 and 1, that's 4, so this has to be 4. So the distance that it's traveling is basically going by the side length, because it's not going to go by the other ones, because the circle is going to get stuck, as I said before. So it's just 5 plus 4 plus 3, which is 9 and 12. So the answer is just 12, which is the answer to question 20. Pretty interesting question, kind of geometry-ish. Well, that basically covers the CCML Algebra 2 Contest 1 2015-2016 Division A. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next math record.